Good evening. I'd like to call the council meeting of October 21st, 2025 to order. First agenda item, item 3, closed executive session. Closed executive session, item A, as authorized by Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with Section 551.071, consultation with attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on pending or contemplated litigation or on attorney-client privileged information with Meredith Reedy, City Attorney. Item B, closed executive session as authorized by Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with Section 551.074 Public Officers for the purpose of deliberations regarding appointments to and duties of the Building Standards Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Zoning Board of Adjustments with Linda Mendenhall, City Clerk. So we will now adjourn into executive session and will reconvene the meeting upon the council's return. We'll now reconvene the October 21st, 2025 meeting. The invocation will be led by Council Member and Mayor Pro Tem Rick Miller. Please stand.
Good. Please pray with me in your faith, if different than mine. Heavenly Father, we thank you as members of this council for this opportunity to serve the citizens of Sugar Land. May we be blessed with wisdom, discernment, and knowledge to navigate the challenges and opportunities before us. Grant us the strength to listen to one another with respect and empathy, and to work together to make the right and best decisions for the city and for all the residents. I also ask a special blessing on all staff members, and especially for the safety of our first responders as they carry out their duties in serving all of us. Dear Lord, we appreciate your grace and mercy that you provide to us daily. Please guide and direct all that we do. May our city and all residents thrive, and may we as elected council members always act with integrity, humility, and compassion. In the name of Jesus, amen.
Sorry, keep standing. Sorry, my fault. Oh, well. Okay. So tonight, we're excited that Girl Scout Troop 151087 is going to be leading our pledges. And the troop is part of the San Jacinto Council, and it includes 5th and 6th graders from Walker Station Elementary, Dickinson Elementary, Sartarsha Middle School, and Garcia Middle School. So with us tonight, we have Abby Lomer. Which one is that? Oh, there's Abby. Okay, great. Sasha Kilburn. There. Luciana Francesconi. Oh, y'all are in order. Mercy Oyewale. Great. And then Ruth Lomer, our very own Ruth Lomer, is the troop leader. Okay, so who's going to start with the pledge to the American flag? Okay, we're going to turn around. Okay, who wants to take the microphone? There you go. Okay.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Okay. Down. Let's get a picture. Come on down. Okay, yeah, like this.
Thank you.
Next item, 6, public comment. At this time, I'll open public comment. Citizens who wish to address the City Council regarding actions items on the agenda for consideration will have 3 minutes to speak. And please note that item 9 has a separate public hearing. Linda, has anyone signed up to speak?
No, Mayor, they have not.
Okay, public comment is now closed. Consent agenda item 7. All consent agenda items listed are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. Is there any council member who wishes to pull an item off consent? So moved. Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Watley. Second by Councilmember Miller. Let's vote at this time. The motion passes 7-0. Next item, donations. Item 8A, Cullinan Park Conservancy donation. Consideration of and action on acceptance of a donation from the Cullinan Park Conservancy in the amount of $60,000 for Cullinan Park Phase 3 design, CIP PK 2302, with Fun Lang Du, Parks Development Manager.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. My name is Feng Lin Du. I am the Parks Development Manager for the Parks and Recreation Department. Today, I'm very excited to present this donation item. We have truly enjoyed the partnership with Cullinan Park Conservancy on the Cullinan Park project improvements over the last 9 years. And today, I'm also very honored to have Ms. Monica Taylor, Mr. Keith Borgfeld, and Mr. Rex Vaughn here with us tonight. They and the entire Cullinan Park Conservancy have worked tirelessly and volunteered to do all the fundraising and making the park a truly destination for our community. So before I get to the details, I just want to give you all a little bit of history about the park improvements. Back in 2015, the City of Sugar Land and the Cullinan Park Conservancy entered an MOU stating the Cullinan Park Conservancy was going to raise the funding for park improvements, and the City of Sugar Land is responsible for the maintenance and operation of the park. Because the park properties belong to City of Houston and the Houston Parks Board, the two cities and also Houston Parks Board signed an interlocal agreement to talk about the park maintenance, operation, and construction. So with that framework, we really had a great partnership among all of us. In January 2016, the city annexed the park and started managing the park. And then by February 2017, Cullinan Park Conservancy already raised more than $1 million projects, $1 billion to fund the design and construction of the Phase 1 project. During the Phase 1, we were able to clear out some of the weeds and open up the park entrance, added a restroom, which was very much needed, and 1/3 miles of trails, signage, and boardwalk overlook, just quite a few improvements for that park. And then the project completed in the fall 2019, which was right before the pandemic when people really need to have more space and time to be outside, to enjoy nature. I will have a little bit data to show that the park visits really peaked during pandemic. Next page. Right after that, the Conservancy also contracted directly with a consultant to work on the Phase 2 conceptual design. And then from the winter of 2020 to June 2023, the city also accepted 3 more check donations from the from the Cullinan Park Conservancy, totaling about more than $1.5 million for the Phase 2 design and construction. For that phase, we were able to really respond to the community needs and added more parking because the park became so crowded because of the Phase 1 improvements. So in addition to the parking, we were able to add 1.2 miles of trails, several trailheads, including a trailhead that has the art monument. which becomes an iconic image for this park. We also added more signage and site furnishing. The picture you see is a beautiful ribbon cutting that we had last March. Time flies. And since then, the Conservancy also contracted the consultant Kimberly Horn to start the Phase 3 design, conceptual design, which is about 30% design. And then last December, they donated another $390,000 to the city of Sugar Land for the schematic design, design development, and construction documentation. Phase 3 the Phase 3 was discussed by the Colony Park Conservancy board members and many previous board members, and then the vision was the LEAP. It's spelled as, it's a learn, explore, and play. It's meant to provide a nature play area very unique nature play area for the children and their families to interact with nature, learn about habitat, learn about the woodlands and wetlands in the park. So the LEAP project includes, we are in the middle of 30 to 60% design. The project will include a tree house, some interactive nature play elements, additional trails, and man-made wetlands, including boardwalks. And then in addition to that, we are going to continue to add the signage and site furnishing. So today, I apologize for the date. I have that October 7th. It's actually going to need to be October 21st. Today we are very excited to get the donation again, another $60,000 from Colony Park Conservancy for the Phase 3 LEAP project design and construction. With all the previous donations, the Conservancy has already donated to the city of Sugar Land more than $3.44 million. So I know this is about donation, but I really would like to take this opportunity to provide some data about how people have been enjoying this park since those improvements. Because of the wonderful partnership we have had with Colony Park Conservancy, the park visits have almost doubled from 5 years ago. And then the park visitors have increased by 60% from 5 years ago. And then you can see that during the pandemic, the numbers skyrocket, and then to show how the community really cherished this oasis of our community, not just Sugar Land, it's Fort Bend County, it's a greater Houston area. From the data, we know 38% of the visitors come from Houston, 34% from Sugar Land, and 28% from other cities or the other states. So it's a really truly regional destination. With that, the Parks and Recreation Department staff recommends that City Council formally accept the donation in amount of $60,000, approve a budget amendment in amount of $60,000 for CPK 2302, Colony Park Phase 3, the LEAP project, and extend the city's gratitude for the generous donation made by Colony Park Conservancy to the city of Sugar Land.
Well, Colonial Park is truly a rare gem, and I'm so glad so many people are enjoying this beautiful park. And thank you so much to the Conservancy for all of the tremendous work you've done. We greatly appreciate the $3.4 million in donations that you have raised to further enhance this very, very special park. Councilmember Watley?
Wow, that was fast. Thank you for noticing. You took away my thunder because...
Oh, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I'm excited because I love this park.
I know, because you do love it as much as I do, and it's in District 1. So thank you again. To say what the mayor said, it's a fascinating place in our city, and we're so lucky to have it. Conservancy, thank you for all your work to make this happen. That's a lot of money, a lot of effort. We appreciate you. And with that, may I make a motion to approve?
Absolutely. Okay, we have a...
Mayor, may I just...
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
I want to thank Conservancy as well, and I also just want to remind everybody that they are having their fundraiser. I believe it is this Thursday?
Yes.
Wednesday or Thursday? So if you haven't heard about it already, come on out and help them continue to do the good work they do for the park and for our city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah.
Mayor,
Mike?
just last thing.
Yes.
I also want to think, a lot of times we forget about what created this and made it happen. And so this would not have been possible without the George Foundation. They gave that first major gift that made this happen. It was a very interesting deal when it came about. Mayor Jimmy Thompson really kind of led this through of us annexing a park that was not in a good state. And so very proud of this, and thanks to the George Foundation and obviously everybody for all their hard work. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you for reminding us about the George Foundation's tremendous contribution too. So we have a motion by Watley, a second by Single. Let's vote at this time. And it passes 7-0. So let's come down and get a council picture with our Conservancy and Fung Lim.
Oh, okay, go here. Once you go ahead, and then I'll come in after. I'll get a pose. Yeah, you're going to be looking here, and in fact,
I'm going to take one picture first, if y'all don't mind. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
okay. And now right here into the lens. And it's going to be 3, 2, 1. And that's just my countdown till I'm done taking pictures.
Thursday, that's right.
Item 10, public hearings, 6 o'clock p.m., so we're just after that, great. Receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on the proposed changes to the Lake Point Redevelopment District, Chapter 2, Part 5 of the Development Code. First consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Ordinance Number 2390, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, providing a recommendation on the proposed changes to the Lake Point Redevelopment District, Chapter 2, Part 5 of the Development Code. And we have Ruth Lomer, Redevelopment Planning Manager.
Good evening, Mayor, members of City Council. We are here tonight to talk about the Lake Point Redevelopment District. So I'm going to start by giving you a little bit of background on how we got to where we are today, walk through the changes that are being proposed, go over the Planning and Zoning Commission's review, and then follow up with recommendation and next steps. Starting with the background, in 2018, City Council adopted our current version of the land use plan, which is Chapter 6 of our comprehensive plan. That is our policy document that provides guidance for development and redevelopment of the city. In the land use plan, there were 5 regional activity centers and 9 neighborhood activity centers that were identified. These areas were envisioned to be pedestrian-friendly mixed-use areas that would primarily be created through redevelopment of existing commercial and office spaces. The land use plan also provided us direction to evaluate the best way to implement these new land use designations because our existing zoning districts do not provide for mixed use areas. Then in 2021, redevelopment was identified as City Council's top priority. We talked about it for a few years, and then the most recent strategic action plan that was adopted by City Council earlier this year included a priority of fostering sensitive redevelopment. And it specifically called out preparing our priority sites for redevelopment, and that includes Imperial and Fleur. From 2021 to 2022, staff worked with a consultant to evaluate a variety of options for implementing those regional and neighborhood activity centers, including benchmarking some other peer cities and looking at how they implement mixed-use areas. And then from 22 to 23, we worked with a task force that was made up of members of both the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council, alongside our consultant, to develop a draft mixed-use code. What we had found through our benchmarking was that most cities had a standard zoning district that could be applied in various places across the city, and that was really the most effective way to have mixed-use areas in a city. We presented the draft mixed-use code to the Commission and Council, and in July of 2023, we received direction from City Council to sort of focus our efforts on the Lake Point area specifically because of some activity that we knew was coming specifically on that site. And so we wanted to make sure that we were ready for redevelopment at that location. So we did go back and make some revisions to the mixed-use code and brought it forward as the Lake Point Redevelopment District. And City Council adopted that or created that district in December of 2023. And the district was applied to the 52-acre former Fleur property. So that property was actually rezoned to the new district, and that district was adopted as the Development Code Chapter 2, Part 5. So this zoning district sets the standards and the processes for development in that particular area. As with any code or zoning regulation that is created, we knew when we set this up that it wasn't going to be perfect and that we were going to need to make changes. And so we very quickly turned around and made some changes. In May of 2024, we received some initial feedback from some potential builders and developers and made some changes based on that feedback. Then just a couple months later, in July of 2024, Fleur vacated that campus. So they left over 1 million square feet of office and 30 acres of parking behind. A little bit later that year, in early 2025, we worked with some members of City Council on the Economic Development Committee to develop a term sheet for incentives that we believed would entice the redevelopment of the site. And then we were able to utilize that information as the property was listed for sale, and we were able to share those incentives with potential buyers and developers as they were working with the property owner. Then in March of 2025, Levitt was identified as the preferred buyer by the property owner, and that city staff began working with Levitt to kind of work through what plans might be appropriate on the site based on the regulations that were in place and the incentives that we were proposing to offer. And so from March through May of 2025, we worked with Levitt and came to terms on their potential development. And then in May of 2025, City Council approved 2 important documents for development of this site. The first one is the Lake Point Green Redevelopment Concept Plan, which you can see here on the screen. It identifies the locations for the land uses, the streets, and the mix of housing. And so I'll just kind of walk you through it very quickly. This was what was approved back in May, so just a few months ago, actually. So you have Creek Bend Drive here off of Fleur Daniel Drive, Highway 6 being kind of off the screen down here. So they are proposing to do some what we call middle housing, which is townhomes, urban homes, live-work homes in this kind of yellow area. They could also do them in these areas over here. The orange is where some multifamily could be located. And then very importantly, you have the green space that is being preserved based on the location of the existing mature trees in the area. So the second document that was approved by City Council in May was the incentive agreement, which outlined quite a few different things, but some of the most important ones were the financial incentives that the city was offering, as well as ensuring that we had that reservation of the civic space where those trees are located. And in that agreement, we also identified that we expected there to be some revisions to the Lake Point District, and that we would be working with the developer to make those changes as appropriate. During that same month, the planning staff brought forward some changes to the development code to align the Lake Point redevelopment district, which is chapter 2, with the subdivision regulations in chapter 5 and the definitions that are in chapter 10. And then the following month, Levitt actually closed on the property and purchased that Fluor site. Since that time, we have continued to work with Levitt and their team to evaluate the Lake Point District and to collaborate on the best way to approach changes to that district. And so we have identified some changes and are bringing them forward tonight in this ordinance. And we believe that they will enable the redevelopment to achieve the compact, high-quality development that we all envision for the site. So now that I've given you some background, I'm going to walk you through what the actual changes are to the development code. So starting in section 2-118, which is the district regulations, there are regulations established for the non-residential, multifamily, and mixed-use development, and then there's a separate section for the middle housing. So for the first section, we're making just some clarifying language changes related to where you have a maximum building setback and where there is an easement present. So just some clarifying language, not really any substantive change there. For middle housing, we are proposing to decrease the minimum building setback from 5 feet to 0 feet for front and street sides. And then similarly clarifying language related to the maximum building setbacks where you have an easement present, and decreasing the required building frontage in that situation from 75% to 60%. For the middle housing, specifically urban homes, we are adding a new option for the interior side setbacks. So right now, the code establishes side setbacks where the developer can have 3 foot and 3 foot, or 0 feet and 6 feet. And so what this is going to allow them to do is to have 3 feet and 3 feet on the front of the lot, and then 0 feet and 6 feet on the back of the lot. And essentially this enables them to have the overhangs of the eaves at the front of the lot, but then have a little bit larger yard at the back where the garage is, where you don't necessarily need that kind of balance at the front. Also related to middle housing, we are making some adjustments to the maximum building height. We are distinguishing now between those lots that are fronting on public streets and those that are fronting on mews, which are some of those civic spaces, green spaces. So for lots that are fronting on public streets, we would increase the maximum height from 50 feet to 55 feet, but it would still be a 4-story maximum, which is what's in the code today. And then for those lots that front on mews, we would reduce the height from 50 feet to 45 feet, and decrease the number of stories from 4 stories to 3 stories. We also have a maximum lot width for urban homes, which is 40 feet right now for all lots. And so what is being proposed is that we provide additional lot width just for corner lots to provide a little bit of flexibility on those corner lots. And then the code currently has a minimum density requirement, and we are recommending that that requirement just be removed. Also related to middle housing, this is specific to building design and building orientation and entrances. So this is where the minimum width of the mews is identified. And so we are proposing that we decrease that from 30 feet to 20 feet. And then there are some changes to the building transparency. So in other words, how much windows you have to have on your facades. So we will now require that facades that face the mews or the green spaces meet the same requirements as those facing public streets, which is 15% transparency. And then we've also added a transparency for those that are facing the alleys, so they would need to have at least 2 windows on that side of homes. So this is just a conceptual site layout. This is not before you for a review, for approval. It's really just to kind of give you a sense of how Levitt is expecting to sort of lay out the site. because it's sort of helpful to conceptualize how those regulations will be applied to the site. So again, just to sort of orient you, Highway 6 would be down here, kind of off the screen. You've got Fleur Daniel Drive coming in and coming into Creek Bend Drive, which wraps around the site. So the homes are required to be alley loaded or rear loaded, so there will not be any garages on the front of the homes. So the front of the homes will either be along these streets, so Creek Bend Drive, and then they have this internal street here. So those will be fronts. And then in these other cases, the fronts will actually be on the mews, on the green spaces, and then the driveways will be off of the alleys, which will be at the rear of the home. So this just kind of gives you an idea of what that will look like. And then, of course, you have the larger green spaces that were shown on the redevelopment concept plan, where you have those mature trees, which you can kind of actually see in those sort of darker green blobs here, that they're really working to protect those trees through this redevelopment. And then I've got a few more images just to kind of, again, give you a flavor for what it will look like. These are not final drawings. They are certainly subject to change, but it's just to kind of give you a flavor for what it might look like. So you can see there's kind of varying lot depths here. They've got some building footprints that show how they might situate some of these homes on the various lots. And then, they've got the 20-foot green space where, again, this would be the front of the home, and then this would be the rear of the home where you would have the garage and the vehicular access to each of those lots. And then this is just a visual to show you what those mews or green spaces would look like. Again, the maximum height on these buildings is going to be that says up to 4 stories, but it's actually up to 3 stories. And then the mews would be a minimum of 20 feet wide. And Lovett has done some developments similar to what they are proposing here. And so this just kind of gives you a flavor of what that actually looks like in real life. And so these are some buildings that are about 20 feet apart with that, walkway in between there. So I think these are all in the Houston area. So yeah, that just kind of gives you a feel for that. Okay, so that is all of the changes. So now I'm going to just briefly cover the Planning and Zoning Commission's review. The commission did review this on 2 different occasions. We held a workshop on September 9th where the commission asked some clarifying questions and requested exhibits that sort of demonstrate the code in action. So that's what you just saw as some of those exhibits. They did express some concerns with a few of the proposed changes, including the middle housing height maximum on the mews and the public streets, and then the mews widths. We conferred with the developer after that and did make those changes as the commission had requested following that workshop. And the changes were incorporated into what was presented to the commission at their meeting on September 25th, where we had a public hearing. There were no speakers during that public hearing, and the commission did not have any additional comments or questions at that time, and they did unanimously recommend approval. So just to kind of wrap up, we do have a public hearing on the agenda tonight. All the requirements for the public hearing have been met. We have posted the public hearing notice in the local newspaper and on the city's website, and have not received any inquiries or aware of any opposition to the changes at this time. So with that, the Planning and Zoning Commission and staff recommend approval of Ordinance 2370, which amends the Lake Point Redevelopment District, Chapter 2, Part 5 of the Development Code. And we anticipate bringing this back to you for a second reading on November 4th. With that, I am happy to answer any questions that you have following the public hearing. I also have a representative from Lovett here in case there are questions that I am not able to answer. He will be able to jump in there.
Thank you, Ruth. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing. Linda, do we have anyone who's filled out a request to comment card?
No, Mayor, we do not.
Okay, so I will now close the public hearing. Does council have any questions or comments? Yes, Councilmember Von der Haar.
Ruth, first of all, thank you very much. As always, great job.
Thank you.
Couple of questions. In the changing of the width of the mews,
Yes, sir.
does that, in total, does that reduce the total amount of green space that was available? And are we still within the limits that we were expecting in terms of green space?
That's a great question. So I'm actually going to go back a few slides here. Bear with me. Here we go. So the green space that that is required by the code, and that was established through the concept plan, is these larger areas. So what they've identified as the lawn and the bridge, and then this kind of central corridor, those MUs do not count towards that green space, or they're not required as part of that. So it does not impact their ability to meet that requirement.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, follow up?
Yeah, follow up.
Again, back to the MUs, by shrinking the size, are we losing any additional trees?
No, I don't believe so. Okay,
Okay, all right,
confirmed.
thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Stinkle?
So, one of the thing is changing the setback from 5 feet to 0 feet.
Yes, sir.
Does it make it look more congested or losing some green space?
So it does give them the option to bring the buildings closer together. That is the flexibility that they're looking for. What they have expressed to us is that they anticipate the homes will likely not be right at the 0 feet. They will be in some variation of 2 to 3 to 5 feet, but that just allows them to get as close as they need to have the depth in the homes that they're looking for, and just to be able to provide some variety in the depths of the homes. So what you saw in those images that I provided, that is 20 feet. So that is as close as they could get with that change. You would have the property lines, the MUs being 20 feet, and those buildings could be 0 feet, at that 20-foot distance. So it is smaller than, it is closer than what would have been required under the code previously. But we believe it's an appropriate request, and it's really based on the configuration of the site and just being able to provide that flexibility for them to create that compact design that they're trying to do.
One follow-up.
Follow up?
Yeah. So by this change, do we change the total covered area of the plot, or is it something which is covered in the agreement? Like how much is the total square feet they are going to cover?
Covered in terms of
Build up space.
buildable space. That wasn't specifically covered in the agreement. I know we've looked at it from like a drainage standpoint. Is that kind of what you're concerned about, or?
No, I was
not?
looking more from the commercial side.
The commercial side, what do you mean?
Like if the total built up area is increasing much, then should the city be getting something back in terms of the incentives or?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
No, so basically
Sorry.
what I meant is with the previous design, when the setback was more and the MU width was more, the total area which was covered and sellable to the future owners would have been less than what it is now. Because you're reducing the space in between the two buildings. And if it's not covered, that's fine. I just wanted to know if it's something.
It wasn't
changes.
covered in the agreement. That's
Okay, if it's not covered, then that's fine.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mike, do you have a comment?
No, I was going to say, if it does give them more density, it's going to result in more tax dollars to offset services. So from our standpoint, it is a positive for the city. We are getting back the tax revenue from it.
Okay, Councilmember Watley?
Thank you, Mayor. I had a couple of questions. I think Section 2-118, we are increasing the height from 50 feet to 55. That kind of sounds vague to people who don't know the difference. Do you have some comparables? I mean, in the area, we have townhomes. Can you tell us what those are?
Oh, gosh.
I know, I'm sorry.
I don't have that off the top of my head, but I could certainly find that out.
Okay.
For the next meeting.
And the reason I ask that is because people are going to go and say, what's a 3-story versus a 4-story versus a 3.5? And if you drive around Lake Point and see the houses there, some are 3, some are 4, and some are 4.5.
Right.
So we're kind of gauging what it's going to look like as far as height when you go from 50 to 55, because it doesn't
Right.
sound like much. But just to give people an idea of what we're actually looking at, that would be helpful.
Okay.
For us. And I had another question. Is this okay?
Follow up, yeah.
So we talked about the trees, but those houses facing Creek Bend, because they'll be facing Creek Bend, will we still have a sidewalk? And what about the bicycle path and parking that will be happening in front of those houses? Because you're taking away an entire bicycle path lane if they're parking in front of their
Right.
homes. How are we going to address that?
We are still working through those specifics. to figure out if they're going to be able to do on-street parking along Creek Bend or not. That's something that's being actively evaluated.
Okay, follow up?
Follow it.
Okay, so, and I know you just said you're working on that, so I'm wondering if we're proposing a sidewalk that will go around there for a walking path as well?
Yes, there will definitely be a sidewalk.
Okay, because I've been asked that by so many residents.
Yes.
They want to keep that walking path.
That I can definitively say there will be a sidewalk.
Perfect, thank you.
Of course.
Councilmember Betcher?
Thank you, Mayor. So to follow up on, Councilmember Vonderhaar, Singal, and Watley's questions, and I'll keep it pretty high level. What was the primary motivation for the change in the codes? And then obviously there was an initial code that was built, a year or two ago. And they came up with the standards back then based on, I guess, assumptions. And what was the intent back then versus with these changes? Is there any change to, I guess, the vision or feeling of the neighborhood based on these changes that, we're either for, or what's the major change here?
Sure.
And how should we feel about it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think that I would say the intent in general has not changed. The idea is to create a compact, walkable community that has some variety of housing, that has the potential to have some commercial. I think at this point we recognize that a lot of commercial in this area is not likely, and so that's why you see the majority of it being residential. Really what precipitated the changes was having a developer actually have their designer sit down and draw the lots and draw the streets and draw the mews. And those were things that we as staff were not doing when we were creating the code. We were basing the standards on what we saw in other communities and what we had seen here in our community, because we do have some areas that are somewhat similar to what we're doing here. And so I would say we had a really great start. It's not that there was anything wrong or bad about the original code, but like I said, we knew there was going to need to be refinement as we went along. And so that's really what we're doing here, is just sort of tweaking and refining. There's not really substantive changes that are being proposed as part of these changes.
Okay, Councilmember Watley?
I'm sorry, you said something that made me remember something.
Okay.
Remember that optional retail space we talked about?
Yes.
Is that still a part of the plan?
Yes, it's in the redevelopment concept plan that you approved.
Okay, so it's still there?
It's still there.
Okay, thank you.
That is a possibility still, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So what if somebody wants a generator?
A generator?
Yeah, I guess there's probably is there any space for that?
Probably put it in the backyard.
Okay. Now, of course, the 20-foot mews are 20 feet apart, but what about, are there going to be spaces between the homes then here? Are they going to be?
6 feet.
6 feet, okay. So is that enough for sunlight to get through to have grass on there? Or is it going to have to be like rocks or something?
I'm not entirely sure. Will they have grass or rocks? Would you like to? This is Adam Williams.
Hey, everyone. Mayor and council, thank you for your time. My name is Adam Williams. I'm with Lovett. To address that question, we have done a number of kind of similar scaled developments that mix townhouses, attached and detached and compact homes. We've found that people actually really do take advantage of, 6 feet doesn't sound like a lot, but in a development like this, it does add up, and people have side gardens. And part of the reason for that one change of allowing 6 feet on one side and 0 on the other is if you mirror that and both sides of your lot line have 6 feet on both sides, now you have 12 feet of daylight. And so it allows you to actually have a more usable yard there. But we do feel confident that the side lots do get used to an extent.
Great, thank you. Yes, a follow-up with Watley?
I'm going to stop in a second. But to your point, Lake Point Commons has 0 lot lines with 6 between each one, and it works perfectly because that's enough space for a generator, and it's also enough space for a garden or access to the side yard. So that does work. Just it's there if you want to drive by and look at them.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, let's vote at this time.
Okay. Thank you.
What now? Oh. Okay, I'm sorry.
Second.
Ask for, okay, wait, okay, we had a motion by Miller. Okay, who's the next second? Okay, a second by Vonderhaar. Okay, thank you all. Okay, now let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0. Thank you
very
Rose.
much.
Item 10, appointments. A, Building Standards Commission appointments, consideration of and action on the appointment of commissioners to the Building Standards Commission. And the recommendation is to appoint Sanjay Jain as a regular member, to reappoint Lana Goldberg, as well as Siva Raha Pothi, Hakeem Buadi, and also appoint as alternates Jitesh Chanchani and Lisa Morris. And okay, anyway, I'm not quite there yet. Okay, so reappoint Kelly Kanaki as chair and appoint Sanjay Jain as vice chair. And we have a motion to approve by Councilmember Jacobson and a second, we all are getting fast, second by Councilmember Vandahar. Let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0. Item B, planning and zoning appointments. Consideration of and action on the appointments of commissioners to the Planning and Zoning Commission. So the motion is to reappoint Chuck Brown, Randall Hallbrook, and Mary Smith. Also then to appoint Tim Hart and Brad Tilton, and to reappoint Matt Caligar as chair, and to appoint Tim Hart as vice chair. Okay, we have a motion by Single. Second. Okay, second by Betcher. Let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0. Item C, Sugarland Legacy appointments. Consideration of and action on the appointment of members to the Sugarland Legacy Foundation. And that would be Ashok Dasgupta, Lee Wunsch, Linda Schoonmaker, and George Kakanat. Okay, we have a motion by Single. Second by Vandahar. Let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0. Item D, Zoning Board of Adjustment appointments. Consideration of and action on the appointment of members to the Zoning Board of Adjustment. The motion will be to appoint Danilo Alvarado and Doug White as regular members, and to appoint Manisha Gandhi as an alternate, and to reappoint Chikershaw Pravada as chair and Josh Martin as the vice chair. Oh, we had a motion by, that was a tie, a motion by Councilmember Miller, and was it second by Betcher? Okay, let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0. Item number 11A, contract with CFG Industries, LLC. Consideration of a construction contract with CFG Industries, LLC in the amount of $2,293,590 for the rehabilitation of 4 city wastewater lift stations, CIP CWW 2401, and authorization of a budget amendment of $163,680 from CIP CWW 2302 to CWW 2401 to fully fund the project. And we have Jonathan Braun, Assistant City Engineer.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. Let's jump right into the project background on this one. So our Public Works team goes out and does some point inspections on our lift stations around the city, and they've identified these lift stations as needing some rehab from significant degradation, capacity concerns, and there's some potential risk of failure to these. Those 4 lift stations are Orchard Lane, Avondale, Robinson's Ferry, and Small Great Lakes. The design contract was approved by City Council on April 16th, 2024, and the design was completed on July 2025. These are the locations here. It's kind of hard to see, but just to give you some reference, Orchard Lane is in the Orchard subdivision. Robinson's Ferry is in Grants Lake, Small Great Lakes is in Lakefield, and Avondale is in Bridgewater. The scope of the work for this construction contract will include the pump upsizing, valve vault modification, riser and header piping, mechanical and electrical components, wet well recoating, bypass pump connection, remote monitoring, improved access, and most importantly, the site must remain operational during construction. We put out an invitation to bid in July 16th of 2025. There was a non-mandatory pre-bid conference, and we did receive 2 bids on August 7th, 2025. Here's a summary of those bids. You can see it ranged from 2.3 to 2.6 million. Our engineer's estimate was 2.1 million, making the lowest bid on this project from CFG Industries. It's within the acceptable difference that we normally see on these kind of projects, since it's over what our engineer estimated. And this will be funded fully from our utility funds. Here's a breakdown. You've got the construction costs, construction admin of 35 and some contingency of 130. So the total funding need is 2.46. We only have 2.29 in the project, so we will need some additional funds, and we identified those in project CWW 2302, which was also a lift station rehab program. So we're looking to transfer 163,680 from that into this project. And this 2302 is completed, 100% done, and there's just a fund balance left that we can safely borrow from. For the schedule, we're looking to notice to proceed December 2025 at 365 days, and then completing December 2026. Just so you all are aware, this is on city property. There will be no service interruptions, no work on after work hours or on weekends unless it's approved, and we'll do our best to control the noise with the existing sound walls. If we do need to talk to people, the residents, it will be through door hangers, mail outs, and one-on-one communication. And I skipped the last page. With that, I would like to request that you authorize the execution of this construction contract. If you have any questions, I'm here for it.
Anyone have any questions? Do you have a motion? Okay, motion by Single. Okay, second by Miller. Let's vote at this time. Motion passes 7-0. Thank you, Jonathan. Next item, 12A, consideration of and action on City of Sugar Land Resolution Number 2545, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, accepting a grant from the Federal Transit Administration, an operating administration of the United States Department of Transportation, for federal transportation assistance authorized by 49 U.S.C. Chapter 53, Title 23, United States Code, or other federal statutes administered by the Federal Transit Administration, and designating the city manager or his designee as authorized grant official to sign documents to administer and implement the grant. And we have Melanie Beeman, Transportation and Mobility Manager.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. So I'm going to be referring to the Federal Surface Transportation Block Grant Program as STBG, and FTA for Federal Transit Administration. So this is a grant acceptance. What the STBG grant is, it provides funding for use by states and localities for projects to preserve and improve conditions and performance on any federal aid highway, bridge and tunnel projects, on any public road, pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, and transit capital projects, including intercity bus terminals, which is city-to-city bus service. Because a portion of the proposed Sugar Land Trail Phase 1 and 2 are within a 3-mile bike shed radius and or a half-mile walk shed radius to the 2 Fort Bend Transit commuter park and ride lots in Sugar Land, which are FTA-funded public transportation bus stops, the projects are eligible for FTA grant funding through the STBG program. The city applied for and went through a competitive selection process through HGAC to get these funds, and we were awarded a little more than $15.5 million. Part of this grant application included us becoming an FTA recipient, so that FTA can directly give these funds to the city for both design and construction of the two trails project, Sugar Land Trail Phase 1 and Phase 2. On August 1st, 2025, the city became a direct FTA recipient, which allows the city to be eligible for formula guaranteed funds or discretionary competitive grants like the STBG grant. And this is just a little bit of review because I had already provided this in an FYI from August 7th. But with most federal funding, they'll cover 80%, and then the local government is responsible for 20% local match. So Sugar Land Trail Phase 1 has already been designed. The design is completed, and the construction is out for bid currently. So the portion of the $15.5 million is $9.9 million for this project, and then the local match is a little over $1.8 million. And then for Phase 2, we need to do design and construction. That will, I believe we have a consultant for the design, and that will start in January of 2026. And then the portion for this project is $6.45 million, and local match is $1.3. These are locations of the two trails. Sugar Land Trail Phase 1 used to be called the Ditch H Trail, but it basically goes from Imperial Park along Ditch H. It's got a long history. Goes under Highway 6 and under 59, which is transformational as far as active mobility in the city because you don't have to worry about crossing those roadways. And then it'll connect to Phase 2, which will then go over up Lexington Boulevard and will connect to the current First Colony trails. And the two green bus icons are where the Fort Bend Transit Park and Rides are located. So staff recommends the approval of resolution number 2545, accepting the STBG grant in the amount of $15,540,240 through FTA, and authorizing the city manager or his designee as authorized grant official to execute all grant documents and implement the grant.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Thank you, Mayor. Just for clarification, Melanie, this isn't one of those slippery slopes which allows us to start taking more and more money for rapid transit and whatnot?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Councilmember Von der Haar.
Thank you, Melanie. Quick question. Where are the matching funds coming from?
That was in the FYI. I outlined it, but we have some existing money. We have Fort Bend County contributed a little over $3 million towards the Sugar Land Trail Phase 1 through their 2013 Parks bond. So we have existing money from that. And then Fort Bend County also contributed $3.85 million toward Phase 2 through their 2023 mobility bond.
Councilmember Betcher.
Follow up to Jacobson's question. Are there any conditions attached to this grant?
What do you mean?
Well, coming from the federal government, right? Usually they want something. But is there anything, I mean, obviously it has to be close to certain, MTA stops. Are there anything else that they're requiring of us, or they're just handing over the money?
I mean, there's requirements that we have to do, which is basically the procurement process you can't discriminate. That's most of the legal part of it. Anyway, there's things that you have to do. You have to procure in a certain way. You have to carry out the contract in a certain way to make sure there's no discrimination against people or construction companies.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so no strings attached other than that. Okay, that's fine. Okay, anyone else have a question? Okay, we have a motion by Watley and a second by Single. Let's vote at this time. And the motion passes 7-0, and I'm really excited that the Sugar Land Trail is going to be moving ahead. Yay! And thank you and congratulations to staff for securing $15.5 million of grants for this project. Thank you. Thank you.
Can't wait to use it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, next item, 12B. First consideration. Consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Ordinance Number 2381, an ordinance of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, amending sections 5351 and 5376 of Chapter 5, Article 8, Division 11 of the Sugar Land Code of Ordinances regarding pretreatment standards for users of the city's wastewater treatment plants. And we have Katie here to introduce this. Introduce David.
Yes. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. It's tradition to introduce new faces who are presenting, and so I'm happy to introduce this evening David, who's our Assistant Director of Utilities. He's been with the city for over a year now, and but this is his first time to present. He has quite a lengthy resume, starting with serving our country through the U.S. Air Force, and then most recently has worked with the city of Abilene as well as the city of San Jose in utilities. So thank you for giving him the opportunity to present.
So, welcome, David, to your first council presentation.
Thank you, Katie. Okay, so good evening, and Mayor and the members of City Council. This presentation is the first reading for a proposed ordinance change. So this particular ordinance change deals with the pretreatment standards that apply to users of the city's wastewater treatment system. These are the items I'll be speaking to briefly. The city's industrial pretreatment program started in 1986 to comply with the regulatory requirements of the Environmental Protection Agency's Clean Water Act. The program requires industrial users to take action to meet certain discharge limits before any industrial process wastewater can be discharged into the city's wastewater systems. The city currently has 8 permitted industrial discharges who are regulated by this program. Their on-site processes generate wastewater that contains chemicals that our city wastewater treatment plants are not designed to treat. So by conducting pre-treatment actions that remove these types of pollutants prior to discharging them into the wastewater collection system, they are able to prevent harm to both city infrastructure and the environment. As part of this program, our permitted industrial users and the city conduct frequent inspections, testing, and reporting. The state agency that oversees this program is the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, TCEQ. As with our water and wastewater treatment plants, TCEQ performs regular audits of this program. As usual, their most recent audit of the city's wastewater pretreatment program found no violations, but TCEQ did recently change their documentation requirements for the program. And these changes require the city to make 2 minor modifications in the city's municipal code of ordinances, which you can see on the highlighted on the slide. So while TCEQ's inspectors had no problem with the city's local limits, they did require that the maximum allowable limits be posted clearly in ordinance, as shown on the slide and highlighted in green. These limits have been and currently are documented separately in the city clerk's office and in utilities program guidelines, but now they also need to be included in ordinance. The second change is clarifying language. TCEQ now requires the phrase or local limit highlighted on the slide in yellow be removed to more precisely meet TCEQ's interpretation of the law. So Utilities Department respectfully requests Council approve the first reading of ordinance number 2381, amending Sugar Land Code of Ordinances regarding the pretreatment standards for users of the city's wastewater treatment plants. Thank you, and I'm ready to answer your clarifying questions.
Questions, anyone? Councilmember Jacobson.
Motion to approve.
Okay. Motion to approve by Jacobson, second by Vonderhaar.
Thank you.
Let's vote at this time.
And welcome to the city, David.
Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, David. Item number 12C, first and final consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land Ordinance number 2391, an ordinance of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, approval of the FY 2026 budget amendment to reduce revenues and expenditures in alignment with the adopted property tax rate of 0.358827. And we have Shalay Stedman, Director of Budget.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. On September 16th, the fiscal year 26 budget was adopted with an assumed property tax rate of 0.363210 per 100th of assessed value. However, afterwards, the adopted property tax rate was decreased by 0.4383 cents. This change resulted in a reduction of approximately $921,000 in general fund revenues for fiscal year 26. In other words, we adopted a budget, but not the revenues to support the budget. So today I will be presenting the budget amendment that adjusts the expenditures to align with the reduction in revenues. So starting out first, we'll talk about our operations and maintenance budget reductions. And this just highlights that we worked with all of the different departments to find ways to reduce the budget. So first is our streetlight conversion. The city is currently running Luma Tracker, which provides readings on how much light is on each street. Until staff has had time to analyze, understand, and create a plan to use the data effectively, we are pausing the conversion to ensure that any future changes are performed strategically and enhance overall quality lighting. Next, we have the prescription eyeglasses. This is actually a new benefit we provided staff in the fiscal year 26 budget. So before that, we didn't have this. This is brand new. And when we adopted the budget, we used our best cost estimates based on available information at the time. Since then, we have found a contract that was slightly lower, so we were able to reduce that expense, but still maintain that benefit of new safety for our employees. Third and fourth are connection with our IT department, but we are reducing funding for our AS400 server, which supports our legacy ERP system, the system we used in the past, not what we're currently using. And then the Motorola contract service was reduced by eliminating 2 non-essential features. The last 2 are connected with our people and culture department. They will obtain the salary and benchmark study has been eliminated, and they will obtain this necessary compensation data through alternative sources working as a department. And then number 6, I want to highlight, this is a reduction to our WorkShield third-party service. This will be discontinued beginning in fiscal year 27, as our current contract remains in effect through fiscal year 26. But beginning fiscal year 27, the People and Culture Department will resume all workplace investigations internally and maintaining compliance and confidentiality. So when you see my summary for fiscal year 26, that $28,000 will not be included, but it will be included in our future forecast. Next, the city staff identified 9 vacant positions across the general fund departments with a total savings of $914,000. We'll continue to work and evaluate each position as a request to fill a vacancy using data. And then this is my fiscal year 26 summary. This highlights not only the operations and maintenance we talked about and the personnel reduction, there's also $86,000 reduction in our MUD rebates. MUD rebates refer to the property tax payments rebated to our in-city municipal utility districts using existing agreements. These rebates are tied to the property tax revenues collected within those districts. So when property tax collections decrease, the rebates amounts to the MUDs also decline proportionately. This is the 5-year forecast summary. You can see the first column is what we adopted. The second column is those reductions. And then the third column is our fiscal year 26 new budget. along with the following 4 forecasted years. I did want to highlight, yes, revenues are lower than the expenses we are reducing, and that is to make sure we have a continued structured balance going forward, as our revenues are forecasted to grow at a faster rate than our expenditures. The summary highlights a structured balance budget in the outer years and reinforces our city's ongoing commitment to fiscal responsibility and long-term financial sustainability. So in conclusion, we are committed to providing high-quality services to the residents of City of Sugar Land. All departments work diligently to identify reductions with the least possible impact to our residents, but some impacts are unavoidable. There may be a slight increased wait time, and it will impact our ability to take on new projects and initiatives. We'll continue to monitor these effects of these reductions, and this was brought forth to Finance and Audit on October 15th, last week. So with that, I recommend the approval of and first and final reading of Ordinance 2391, which amends our general fund budget.
Thank you to you and your team for the additional work on the budget, and as well, all of the departments as well. Would anyone on the Finance Audit Committee like to comment? Councilmember Jacobson.
Thank you, Mayor. The Finance and Audit Committee met recently, and we went over this in great detail with Chalet and the rest of the budget team and the finance team. And we're very, very, very pleased and proud that you were able to make this work for us. And I know that this won't cut off conversation, but I will make the motion that we approve this.
Thank you. Councilmember Miller.
Yes, I want to second what Stuart said and thank the city manager and staff for coming up with this reduction. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Singal.
So I want to thank you, city manager, and rest of the team for identifying this saving, because I think this will put us in a very good shape in terms of the financial prudence going forward. If I understand correctly, those 9 positions are vacant positions, so this should not lead to any reduction of existing workforce.
Yes, they are currently vacant positions.
Okay, no, that's very good to note. And I think then the total approved position will go from 940 to 941. Is that right? In the original budget, we had approved 950. So would that number become 941?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think really thank you and all the staff.
Thank you.
Councilmember Betcher.
I just want to reiterate what the rest of council has said, but thank you, Chalet, thank you, city manager, and the rest of the city staff for putting this budget together. You know, we're part of the work that you guys do, and we look forward to seeing this budget implemented, and we're excited for the spring session to put together the next budget.
Mike.
Mayor, first off, thanks to the council for all the support, and to obviously our staff and all of our leadership team that came to this point, but also each one of these positions that are being eliminated were filled and they were doing work. And so I really want to thank the employees that are taking on 9 extra jobs, and because that is happening, that is a fact. And so I want to thank our employees that they always step up. We have the greatest employees, and I want to thank them for everything they do for our residents. Thank you.
Thank you again to our wonderful staff for all of your hard work on this. Okay, we've got a motion by Jacobson. We have a second by Miller. Let's vote at this time. And the vote passes 7-0. Thank you, Chalet. Item 13, City Council and City Manager reports. We'll start with you, Councilmember Betcher.
All right, I'll keep this one quick. Got back from Costa Rica vacation, but I was able to go to the U of H ribbon cutting ceremony, which is great. They had a robot that was actually there to demonstrate their engineering capabilities and to help them cut the ribbon.
Councilmember Jacobson.
Thank you, Mayor. There's one that I'm sure we're all going to leave for Councilmember Whatley to talk about. But I did have a wonderful time at the National Night Out, and along with most of my fellow council members, we attended the grand opening and ribbon cutting of building number 2, the engineering building at U of H Sugar Land.
Councilmember Vonderhaar.
So I won't repeat anything, and I'll let Suzanne have her glory. But I did want to say that one of the most fun things I've gotten to do since I've been on council the entire whole 3 months is I was able to fill in for the mayor. We had a group of Fort Bend ISD second and third graders come to City Hall to get a taste for what it's like to be involved in city leadership. And so I got to participate in that. I got to take pictures with them, and I have to tell a brief story. I know we're all ready to go, but you'll love this, Mayor. So one young lady, she asked me, she said, "Are you the mayor?" I said, "No, I'm not. The mayor was not able to make it, so I'm standing in for her. I'm a council person." "Well, what is the mayor's name?" "It's Carol." "It's a girl?" I said, "Yes, it is." "Is she the first girl mayor?" And I said, "She certainly is in Sugar Land." And she was just so impressed. So you've got a fan and somebody that wants to follow in your footsteps.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that. Councilmember Watley.
Oh, you got me there. I wasn't ready. Yeah, thank you guys for leaving me the story. But if anybody came to the Finest and Bravest Red and Blue United, thank you so much for coming. And we had the best time, but I got to tell you, the kudos goes to you guys over there, our finest and bravest, our firefighters and our police and our staff. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I cannot tell you how much I have heard from our community about how great our city is and how great our staff is. We were able to highlight through this event how much you do for us in this city by hands-on. Can I take a little more time?
Absolutely.
About how the people that went to this event saw what you do in this city, not only what you do, but how you do it and where your heart is when you do it, where your heart is when you do it. So I cannot tell you how grateful we are at what happened at that event at Red and Blue at the public safety facility. They got to see everything. We are so grateful to you, Mike, for helping us and our staff, and we are going to give you what you need to subsidize this city for the ancillary needs for our city, for the finest and bravest, for police and fire. I'm beyond words. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful. And for all my council members, thank you for being there with me. Yay. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne. Yeah. So I'm jealous because I missed that event. I was down with flu on that day, so I didn't want to make others sick. But thank you all for what you do, to all our first responders for serving us, and we are always with you. So other than that, I think it was a busy week. I attended the UH ribbon cutting ceremony along with others. There were National Night Out, which I attended some of them. Also attended a discussion with the Imperial Vision contractor, and also participated in various interviews for the different boards and commissions. So thank you.
Councilmember Miller.
Great. National Night Out was really special. I had the privilege of riding with Lieutenant Amodio, who now is known as the Rookie, since he joined the force at age 37. And if you ever watch that TV series, it's great. He's now the Rookie, but had a great night with him. The U of H, it's great to see U of H grow, and the ribbon cutting. I had a major part in some of that in the legislature and getting funding for that. And then I was at the Avalon HOA meeting recently and met those great folks over there.
Thank you. Well, congratulations to Councilmember Watley and all involved on an absolutely incredible Strongest and Bravest Foundation Gala. And thank you to our first responders and all involved on a very successful National Night Out. And I attended 4 Diwali events recently and about 30 other events that I won't go into. So anyway, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Got good news and bad news. The good news, we are excited to welcome Michelle McCrimmon, our new Assistant City Manager.
Yay, Michelle.
Michelle is brilliant and has just incredible experience. We're so excited for her to join our team, and we'll all be better because of that. And then I'm really sad to share that one of our employees, Julian Segura, who, if you met him, was the nicest guy with the best laugh and just a tremendous person. He passed away this last week, and so his services will be later this week. But, you know, it's always an incredible hit to us whenever that happens. And so to his family, you're in our hearts, and to his coworkers, who this is not easy, you are as well. Thank you.
Well, Julian and his family and coworkers and friends are in our thoughts and prayers. But thank you, council. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And having no further business, do I have a motion to adjourn? Okay, we are adjourned.